working from home in different locations in 2021. And as you can see, I put some pictures of a cloud and like a small catchphrase, "Welcome to the cloud." So that's what the presentation is going to be about today. These things that you can work together with your colleagues, even if they're in different countries, different cities, or working from home, or wherever they might be, of course. So working from multiple locations, I just have a quick introduction first about some of the tools that we all know and use today. So, you know, we have these very, very strong video conferencing and file sharing tools. And we can see that just today with us being here on GoToWebinar and doing the IPHA webcast here, of course. And in most of your businesses, tools like this are already implemented, and it might be tools like Google Drive, Microsoft Teams. I know we've had both in our company, and that's some tools that just make it really, really easy to collaborate together with your colleagues. And I don't want to advertise for these tools, but I just wanted to draw like a little bit of line of something that we're all very good at, and something that I think that the current pandemic situation has really sped up as well, especially in these times. You know, being online, being connected has never been more important than it is right now, and probably will continue to be in the future. But that's enough about other systems, and these things don't really concern Hollowcore that much, other than, of course, all of our businesses, we're using some things like this with documents and so on. But what I want to do instead is I want to jump into a project workflow. Let's call it a project workflow in a precast project, or more specific, a Hollowcore project. Of course, the projects tend to be similar. It's the product that differ in this case here. So below, I've made a very, very simplified workflow. And of course, there's many, many actors in a project like this. It might be 10 times the amount of people that is here. But again, for the sake of the example, we have around 15 minutes here, 15 to 20 minutes. And just to keep it nice and tidy, we can do it like this. So in this case here, we have Ingrid, Peter, Hank, and Allan. And for those of you who still have coffee in your cups, you might notice that the first letters of these people's names are I, P, H, and A. So just for the honor of IPHA, I've given these people these names today. But Ingrid is a detailer. She's working from home in this case. Peter is a planner. He is at the office. Hank is a production foreman, and he is in the factory, which might not be located in the same place that the office is. Definitely, you have to walk in between at least. And then Allan, who is an actual truck driver. So not even an erection company, but the truck driver himself. And usually in a workflow, of course, I call it old-fashioned. You have something that Ingrid does something, sends it to Peter. Peter then looks at it, does whatever he needs to do, sends it to Hank, and so on until Allan gets his delivery note, of course. If something is wrong in some of the parts, so if they need someone to look at it again, of course, it goes backwards again. This is simplified a lot, of course, because, of course, Allan might need something from Ingrid, or Peter might need to talk with Allan, and so on. So there's a lot of arrows. So this again, you know, you can have 10 times the amount of actors, you can have the 10 times the amount of arrows here. But the next step in this small example I'm running on, and this is the example I'll keep running through the whole presentation, of course, is what IT solutions do you have? Because the only thing that can facilitate that you're working from multiple locations, or there are two things. One is phones, and the other one is in general computers and smartphones, tablets, and so on. And usually available to these, they probably all have phones, but not necessarily do the need to use them. But we can see in the picture here that Ingrid, this picture in front of her, this is supposed to be a computer screen. Same with Peter, these two people they're sitting with, mainly their computers. When we get out to Hank, he might be sitting on a computer. He might have a screen in the factory that he's using. or he might be using only the phone. When we then get to Allan, he's driving around, so he's not carrying around a computer. Most of the time he isn't, at least. So the IT tools or the IT hardware that he has available for himself is basically a phone, maybe a tablet or an iPad or something like that. If he is really sophisticated here. But basically that's the tools that we'll be using in the example as well. And then again, this is still showing the old workflow with these arrows. So what is the difference then of working by sending emails to each other or by sending things with mail to each other, like we did in before of faxes, is that we are going to have a database. Basically, what database means is just a base for the data. And data is everything, or could be everything. It could be files, it could be project information, it could be tables. And in the case of StruSoft here, of course, we make software. And this example, of course, revolves around our software. And that software is called Impact in this case here. So it says the Impact database. But the difference now here and from where we were before, where we had these arrows, is that gone are the arrows and you just have a line connecting into the database instead. And this is what makes it possible for these guys to work together. That every single time Peter does something, Allan does something, Hank does something, all the other actors can see it straight away. So it means that, for example, if Allan delivers the element, Ingrid will see the elements on her screen change color and signal that they have actually been delivered on site. So if she needs to check up on something, she can follow it along with what Allan is doing as well. So that's what the database makes possible here. It doesn't have to be on the cloud, on the World Wide Web. It could be on a server at your company. And even if we're removing all these actors, if there's only one person, of course, you can just have it installed on one PC or something like that. But the focus here, of course, is we have something that we can access from anywhere. And both the server local, as long as it has internet, or an actual cloud is okay for that. So what happens when you work through a common database? And this is just a small slide. I won't spend too much time on this slide here. But basically it means that we need to be able to get information from different places. And that's what this slide is all about here. Are you getting 3D models from different 3D modeling software? We, of course, have our own 3D model software. We have our good colleagues here at IPHA. Maybe some of you guys are attending today as well. You also have something. And we want to have these things, put into that database. And then what if you think, okay, I don't have 3D modeling software. What do I do then? Well, then you can still import information through Excel sheets or XML documents if you have a good IT guy, something like that. And the whole point is to bring it in the system. And a little bit differently than when we see many of our good colleagues do is that here we create a 3D model. But that 3D model, it's not a file. It's a representation of data that is in the database. So it's a representation of a lot of numbers and a lot of different tables and a lot of information in there. And the easiest way to compare it is like when you're playing a video game. The video game itself, you're running through the video game and it's creating the graphics for you. So the same point is here that, you get into this planning system here and it's creating these graphics for you. You don't need any files on your computer. It just takes the data and translates it live on your computer to what's happening. And that's also what makes it possible that when Allan does something, he delivers some elements, then they turn up green or they turn up red on Ingrid or Hank's computer. But I'll actually get to what these guys are doing now on the next slide. So first of all, we have Ingrid. She's the detailer, she's the designer, she's the 3D modeler, whatever words we have for this. And here, you're looking at this, you're thinking, okay, this is a 3D model. This is like a BIM model, some Hollowcore or something like that. It's actually not. This is, again, representation of what is in the database. So Ingrid, she makes a drawing, she makes a model, but what is happening on my screen right now is actually coming from the database. So this is no file lying somewhere. This is just data being handled. And of course, as you can see here, I just put this in as a small erection sequence with a few floors, of course, with hollow cores here, some simple hollow cores. But you know, it's a little bit thinking of what is it actually that you're looking at. And in this case here, you're thinking you're looking at a drawing, but you're actually looking at you know, computerized data that it translates and makes it so that we as people can actually understand what's happening in a very, very visual way. You know, we can see everything that's going on here. So Ingrid does this. This automatically gets to Peter. And what Peter then starts to do, Yanni, he talked about it a little bit, you know, planning the casts, optimizing these things. He's still connected. He's connected to the same database as Ingrid. So as soon as she does something, he can see what's happening. And she checks up, okay, these elements are green. He will immediately see the elements are green. What does that mean to him? It means that he can actually start to plan them for production. So that's what he does in this case. And in this example I have here with these few actors, Peter, he's also the one who's doing the truckloads, so the transport, so the stacks that go out to storage and go out to site later on. But again, it's the exact same model and the exact same system. And here you can see a very good example of colors. You know, it changing colors depending on what it is you're doing with it. So this is showing stack colors. And that actually means that when Ingrid is looking at this, she can also see these stack colors. And again, the whole thing is about this connection here. But now Peter, he's finished planning. He leaves over to Hank. Hank, he looks at the planning, of course. Hank, he might have a screen in the production hall. He might have a laptop, or still, we are working in the cloud. It doesn't mean we necessarily have to go paperless. So of course, he can print out something to look at if that's what he prefers. When he then starts to work through, or when the factory then starts to work through, there are some manual things that we have to do. You know, we have to make element controls. We have to check the measurements. Are they okay? And these different things. We have to do some inspections to check, is the quality like it should be? Are there some points, corners broken off that needs repairing or something like that? And all of this, Hank, of course, can do. And that's when it gets into being his mobile phone instead of his computer. And I have a very short video here of Hank doing something. So I'll be limited a little bit by the pandemic. So this is the recording of a mobile phone shown on a computer screen. But basically it shows the same thing as what you do on the mobile phone as well. So this is just a live recording of a mobile phone. I'll just press play here. And this is doing an inspection on an element. So if you follow this here, you can see, okay, we're doing some controls. Now we want to inspect the element. As we click inspect, we're prompted to take a picture. And here, now this is a wall in an apartment, of course. We're locked down pretty tightly, at least us office guys here right now. But it's completely the same if it's a precast element, of course. So just taking 2 pictures for good measure, clicking save, and it'll be in the system together with everything else. The only difference is that this comes from the mobile phone instead. And in this thing here, we see all of these different controls and inspections being done in all the projects that the factory is actually doing right now. Everything comes through, the pictures come through. Even again, these pictures, they don't come through as files. Our developer, one of our lead developers, he told me when I asked him what the file format is, he said none. It is modern, he said. Basically means that it's binary data, and binary means bunch of ones and zeros. So again, it's database information that creates a picture of you. It's not like an actual picture actually, but that is what we as people see. So skipping on to Allan. What's Allan doing then? Well, he's driving the truckload. And what's happening when he delivers it on site? Well, he needs to let someone know that he's actually delivered it. He has a mobile phone in his pocket. And as long as he has power on, battery on the phone, well, what he can do is he can look up the elements, or if there's a piece of paper with a tag on, he can scan them. And what he does is he press these elements are now delivered. And again, the same thing happens for all of the other actors. When they're looking at these models, it changes color. So they can see, okay, now these are actually delivered. They can also see who delivered them, when, and all of these things here. So again, it's about being connected, being up to date all the time. And this is just an image of the tools. You know, he may have some sort of tablet or may have some sort of phone here. So I don't want to spend too much more time. So just summing up a little bit here, you know, when working on this shared database in the cloud, it can be, if we had a good internet connection, it can be almost just like working in the same office. Or even if I take that statement a little bit further, you know, it's almost like you have the power of 10 people in one person, in one computer, or in one date. It's a database in this case. So you have all these people working at the same time together, seeing everything that each other is doing and being able to coordinate very quickly what they need to do. So of course, these tools, these workflows, I haven't mentioned the tools too much, but basically some software tools that we make here at StruSoft, called the Impact Design for the modeling, Impact Production for some planning, Impact Go for the mobile apps, and Impact Project for project management. And we make a lot of software like this, of course. If you guys are more interested in it, I know when you're talking about the cloud, when you're talking about internet, it gets a little bit technical, you know, but at least we're here to help you, here to make it seem easier. And as I know, IPHA, of course, with all of our friends from here, we come from different areas, we come from different countries, very international organization. And I just put in pictures of a few of my colleagues here. You know, are you from India? You can contact my colleague Sandeep if you want to know more. Are you from Greece? You can contact Thomas, who's born in Greece. Are you from Sweden? You can talk with Peter, Denmark, me, UK, our very own Paul Tate, and so on. But yeah, and you can check out more at strusoft.com/impact if you want to know more. And basically, that was what I had. And I'll just end up here with this beautiful picture of a sun rising over some Hollowcore elements. Yeah, that's it.